Holy smokes, you're listening to the second segment of the DMZ America podcast. What is wrong with you? No, we're really, really
It's a
happy
very
with you.
open-ended question. Any number of things could be wrong.
Yes, that's a long, long, long list just for Ted and I alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Coming to you from the right, I'm Scott Standis.
And coming to you from the left, I'm Ted Rall.
So Ted, just a little bit before we started recording, forwarded a story that was deeply disturbing, and that is that trials in America are becoming more and more rare. And part of the reason oh gosh, there was some kind, you know what? I'm going to let Ted take this because he knows so much more about it, because Ted has also been a victim of our amazing judicial system. Best in the world, sort of like our medical system, best in the world.
And like our educational system, best
in the world. Did you see
our transportation system?
Real quick, did you see the test scores for civics and history?
And history. Yeah.
Oh,
by the way, did you take that the New York Times 5-question test? I did. I did not. 5. That's right. That's right, yeah. Bitches.
What kind of question? Give me a quick question, then we'll go on to the trial thingy.
Oh God, I don't even remember them. They were all. It was all just. I don't remember.
This is just like super rudimentary, I'm assuming.
Not really. No, it's a little harder than you'd think. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go try it, and we can talk about it next week. Okay, so trials in America,
get all 5.
Nobody gets them.
No, and so look, what as often happens in systemic change is that you start out with a problem, and you need to solve that problem, and the solution makes the problem worse or creates an even bigger problem. That appears to be what's happened here. So basically, we all know that the courts are ridiculously backed up, both the civil and criminal court system. And so there started an evolution a number of years ago where there were, like here in New York State, there's a special committee that tries to look at backlogged court cases and try to push them through to some sort of resolution. It's not working too great. I'm still waiting for my trial date in Rall versus asshole. This guy is sued for impersonating me.
Wait. I'm sorry. You and I talk a lot.
1999.
Holy fuck cakes. So 24 years?
Yeah, it's like fucking Bleak House here. Okay. So anyway, the point is that the courts are backed up. So toward that end, on the criminal side, what every jurisdiction has been doing is urging prosecutors to pressure defendants into plea agreements. So they, in this NPR piece, they cite sort of a typical example. They tell a guy, okay, so they do this typically. They stack the charges so that you face all sorts of charges. In this case, this guy faced 25 years in prison. Asterisk, turned out he was later exonerated. But anyway, his lawyer said, well, we were offered 3 to 9 years in a plea bargain. But the lawyer said, I think since you're innocent, I think I can beat this. Let me go to trial. Let me fight this. Well, the lawyer failed. The guy was found guilty and he went off to prison for 25 years. He was later exonerated after he served the 25 years. But the point is, that's pretty typical. The typical defendant is offered 1/3 time, or another way to look at it is, if they refuse the plea bargain and insist on their right to go to trial, then they will if they're found guilty, they'll find themselves facing 3 times longer. There's basically, the quote from judges is, if you take the plea, you get mercy. If you go to trial, you get justice. So it's threat, right? It's a threat. And
wow.
The result of this is basically even people who know that they are innocent are very scared to go to trial, because so basically it's like, Scott, I'm sorry. I know you and I both know that you didn't commit this crime, but if you're found guilty, you're going to find 10 years, and anything can happen in a courtroom. At trial, who fucking knows? But if you take this prosecutor's deal, you'll do 3 years, and then you'll be back home to your wife. What do you want to do? So it turns out 98% of cases in the federal courts, they take the plea. I guarantee you 98% of people who are charged with a federal crime are not guilty. Okay, that's not possible. And anyway, the point is 98% of them, there's like, fuck it, I can't beat City Hall. They take it. In big states like California, Texas, New York, the numbers are very similar. And in this NPR piece, they cited in one county in Arizona. This made me laugh so hard. There were no criminal trials whatsoever from 2010 to 2012.
What?
Like literally tumbleweeds are blowing across the courthouse floor. So there's no trials. So, I mean, I guess they have a hearing, right? You have to go in and plea, and that's it. So judges have nothing to do. They've gone from this thing where the courts are jammed to basically it's a factory where people disproportionately of color, but everybody's ground up by the system, are just pushed into it. Now, my mom, God rest her soul, once told me, that one of the stupidest things you could ever do is plead guilty to something you have not done.
Yeah.
For example, she was talking about the Central Park Five, how they were not guilty of the rape of the Central Park jogger, but because they were coerced and threatened and lied to, they pled guilty and ended up going to prison for a crime that they objectively did not commit. And she was like, they shouldn't have done that. They should have fucking held firm. They should have just said no. And even if they go to trial, even if they get found guilty, better to be sent to prison after having fought than to admit to something you didn't do. But I understand where she's coming from, and I still, that's kind of like how I feel, and that's probably what I would do. But I don't blame other people for making a different decision, because you're really between a rock and a hard place.
No, in how many cases, over the last decade, since DNA testing has improved and gotten better and better and better, have said, he pleaded guilty to this rape, and now that they have the DNA testing, clearly he did not.
And we know who did do it now.
Yeah, and we know who did it now. But you're right. I mean, you're faced with, you go to trial. This can actually get you the death penalty or life imprisonment, or like you said, you can negotiate, and at least you get some leniency. I'm doing air quotes, which are be great for our video viewers. It's so what's the answer? I mean, other than to just tell the prosecutors, stop doing that.
Well, there's a new push by a group called Fair and Just Prosecution, which is bipartisan. They mostly liberals, but there's some conservatives involved as well, who basically are, who are more like constitutional purists, who are saying that basically there should be no what they call the trial penalty, which is that 3 times factor increase in jail time. They should say, like, look, by all means offer plea bargains, by all means offer a discount, but it shouldn't be this radical, and there shouldn't be this vengeance on the part of judges where they're like, okay, fuck you, you wasted the court's time, you made us come in here and choose a jury and spend the people's money, so fuck you, we're nailing you. But I don't know how you solve this problem, because it's so systemic. I mean, basically, they don't want to give, there's no supervisory thing. And one of the things, Scott, you mentioned my own experiences in the legal system. And one of the things I learned is that, judges are wrong. And when they're wrong, there's no way to do anything about it. When they make a ruling that is false, when they make a statement of fact that is false, when their judgment is unquestionably off, where 100 people would all agree out of 100 that this person was wrong, there's no redress. You can't appeal. There's no higher authority. They are dictators of their courtroom, absolute dictators, and there's nothing you can do. So, I mean, given that that's the case, I don't know how you fix this.
Well, I think you just touched on it. It sounds like that group has some concrete proposals that, when applied, would probably work. Here's the other problem: is you have legislators who want to prove that they're tough on crime, and this would fly in the face of that. And I doubt you would get popular support in any state legislature. I just can't see it.
Well, that's the thing. The state legislatures would have to vote to get rid of their mandatory minimum prison sentences, which, by the way, I would think that every judge would be in favor of, because it takes away judicial discretion. I mean, look, not all crimes are the same. It's like the guy who, let's say there's a big difference between the person who steals your car because to go on a joyride, and the person who steals your car because their wife is bleeding and needs to get to the hospital and there's no Ubers. I mean, there is just a difference. And so they really could do that. Also, there should be rules against prosecutors larding up your charges with all sorts of bullshit that makes it so that you have to fight a million different charges. I mean, like, for example, let's say you go and you steal 82 different objects in one crime scene, in one crime wave, like one afternoon. Should you really face 82 separate counts? It's kind of like one action, but it's like more, it's one count wouldn't be enough, but 82 is too many. And
Yeah,
so it's,
but I would at least expect to be congratulated for my industry.
yeah, true. So I'm just saying that, but there's definitely, and they also, a lot of the charges are redundant. I would abolish redundancies. Like if for example, the Proud Boys, those 4 guys just got found guilty today of seditious conspiracy, but which carries a 20-year prison term. In addition, they were charged with like trespassing, breaking up a governmental procedure. I mean, which are lesser charges. I would say like the law should be changed so that those other things sort of disappear. Like sort of like if someone breaks into your house to kill you and they kill you, do you charge them with trespassing too? Really? I mean, it's like,
yeah, actually they do, just so they can
I know they do
more. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to end it here saying no trials for you.
No.
Is what you were, if you're ever in the criminal justice system, and God, or even the civil system, and God help you if you are, yeah, you're fucked.
Yeah, you really are fucked. I mean, even people who, I mean, I have met at least 3 or 4 parents who were falsely accused of sort of not being awesome parents. And man, even just Child Protective Services like fucked them up, fucked up their kids. These were all upper middle class people. So for the most part, they were able to throw money at the situation and be defended by competent counsel. But still, it was like 2-3 years of trying to get their kids back and like all sorts of bullshit. I mean, and that's nothing. That's not the criminal justice system. That's just administrative.
Well, welcome to America, the best system in the world.
Yeah.
So we're going to be back with our last segment, and we're going to talk about, this is our 100th episode. So we're going to talk about why we decided to do this and what we plan doing going forward, which I'm really excited about. So stick around for that. This is the DMZ America podcast for Thursday, May 4th, 2023. Stick around.